at least the GMs have said, look, yeah, we messed up here. We'll try and do better in the future. But they just refused to do that. I wouldn't have minded, right, if they did it.
Feel that?
Feel what, Mr. Lee?
The way the shit clings to the air, Randy?
Shit clings to the air?
It's already started, my dear good friend.
What started, Mr. Lee?
The shit blizzard.
And with that, welcome to the Wolfside channel! With an indeed very special topic. I just wanted to say here, hating each other and throwing shit at each other is not gonna work. But basically to summarize this up in a very, very short time span. And everything could be a lie, so don't take it for granted. People were saying the keep was under siege. At least one side is saying the keep was under siege and the other side is saying the keep was not under siege. Then during the siege or not siege, the owner traded the keep to someone else and now it had more defense. And trading keeps can only be done with a game master. So after that, of course, a lot of people were a little bit pissed because the definition of a siege was not really wrote down anywhere. I mean, what is the definition of a siege? Is a siege you sieging a supply line? Is a siege you siege it directly with the keep directly with boulders? Is a siege preparing a siege? So 1 hour before the boulders were dropping, organizing all the people, getting them there, is that also a siege? Or is it not a siege? Or is it a siege only if boulders fly? And that was not clarified what Star Wars' view on what is a siege. And of course the GM team decided to trade because at that time frame, where the GM was looking at that and no one was standing around there, from his perspective, this was not a siege. And for people who don't play Mortal, because the GMs shouldn't be allowed to play Mortal, at least that was Henrik is telling us all the time, that the Mortal GMs are not players. For some outsider, if no one is standing around, it could look like it's not a siege. But then the other side was saying we wrote the GMs and they didn't respond to that and they did the trade anyway. And then the other side is saying, no, that is completely bullshit talk. And everyone is just spinning in his own circles and just talking non-stop about this topic, and no one knows the truth except the people who were directly involved into this. And I totally gave up here to dig in anything about that because everyone is telling me something different. So we have Star Wars story, we have the story of Team 1 and we have the story of Team 2. And everyone is talking about that topic. But from everyone comes different information that don't add up at all. So I decided to just stop with this whole topic and just leave it be. Because I don't want to see that the whole Mortal community is split into two ways and just throwing shit at each other. No, just stop with that. Everything is cool. Yeah, shit happens. Shit happens all the time. But we just need to move on. Star Wars will, I don't know, maybe they will implement the hotfix for trading keeps or stuff like that. At least they had an official statement that they will stop trading something with the GMs. And yeah, this video could be over now, but I really decided just to hear Kuthara's story, because he's also here. He's also playing Mortal Online since over 10 years, exactly like me. So I'm really interested in also his view on how it was before and how it is now. And I mean, from Mortal Online 1 to Mortal Online 2, they improved a lot. Star Wars improved a lot. But of course, it's not perfect. Human error can happen anytime. So here's the story from Kuthara's standpoint.
I mean, they know they made... If I share those, I get banned.
Okay, good. Okay.
It's a little bit of a catch-22. I mean, I can show you things from that. But then the other side's always going to shout, well, you're not showing it all, so you're not showing the context.
You can share whatever you want, so I don't know.
I mean, ultimately, from a Koto point of view, from a coalition point of view, we've preferred to support Imperial. We've got no interest in that keep spot. We've never really had any interest in that keep spot. However, a lot of things had happened over the last few months, which led to us backing Imperial to take over that keep spot from Low. Previously to this, we had been supporting Low in keeping that keep spot as well, and supporting the Enclave. We'd turned up a couple of times to fight Bad Company and their group and retake supply lines. So we were originally on that side of the fence and supporting those guys in trying to keep them in that spot. And the issue is that guild basically died. Low ran out of members. To the point where they had very few, and they never seemed that interested in actually doing anything themselves. So they would ask for help from the Enclave, they would ask help from Coalition, but they took so long to actually do anything themselves, it became a significant chore to actually support them going forwards, where we were going out, but we were then having to wait around for those guys to actually do things like retake their own supply lines, go and take towers. They just seem to have a bit lack of interest on doing anything themselves. I think Imperial and Enclave obviously had a conversation, and the agreement was made that if we had the opportunity, we would secure that keep spot for Imperial to obviously keep it within the Enclave. And I know that Low were offered some significant compensation prior to the siege by Imperial, and I would say that the compensation they were offered was pretty crazy, to be honest with you. I mean, if someone offered me for our keep, I might be seriously considering it, because it was win-win.
That's a lot of money, yeah.
Well, it wasn't even that. They got offered another keep. So they got offered another keep, all the TC buildings, and the ability to use that keep still. There was no downside to it. So the fact that they didn't take it was a bit, I don't know whether it was just stubbornness or I don't know where it came from, but it's their prerogative to do that. So when we actually turned up to do the keep piece, Imperial obviously made a contract with Bad Company, and Bad Company basically scummed them with that contract. I don't really blame Bad Company for what happened in the end. I mean, they got offered a free keep by the GMs, basically, and who isn't going to take that? My main concern really was around how the whole thing was controlled and resolved by the GM team. I think it was quite poor, and we've seen this sort of thing happen many times before, and they just don't seem to learn from their own mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, if I compare to, you're also a very old Mortal Online 1 veteran, so you know all the shit. I mean, they have learned a lot, in my opinion, because in Mortal Online 1 it was a lot worse.
I would say yes and no. I mean, it depends how involved, I guess, your group is with GM decisions.
Okay.
Mortal Online 1 obviously suffered from player GMs. Steam was scrapped, obviously, when it all fell apart because of the GM corruption. And it's a shame to see the GMs making, I would say, emotional decisions as opposed to sticking to rule sets. Well, my understanding, and I will stand corrected if someone says differently, but my understanding was that all parties must agree to obviously the trade of a keep. And the idea is that obviously it's not under siege or aggression at that point of the trade. So I would say that not all parties agreed, and if I share the DMs with you after this, you'll see the fact that not all parties were in agreement. When you have one guild owning the keep, one guild owning the gate, and another guild owning the supply lines, I would say there's 3 parties involved at bare minimum within that engagement, and I very much doubt that Imperial were in agreement, or ourselves. Obviously, I was not in agreement with the decision that was being made, so they obviously didn't stick to their own ruling. I will also say that we did own the gate. BC dropped it, Low took it over. We killed all of the defenders and the other attackers that came from Mythic, and then we took Low Gate down and rebuilt it as Koto. When the keep was traded, one of the issues was the gate was also traded, which means the gate is actually an integral part of the keep. It's the same asset, because when they transfer the keep, it automatically transferred the gate, which means we were owning part of the asset that was traded. And again, we were not in agreement with the trade. But when that gate was traded, it was opened, which then allowed obviously all the defenders to enter the keep, and it basically reset not only the defense and made it much more difficult, but it also then reset the fact that, okay, we're cleared out with defenders pretty much, and now there's an entire army inside. Because the only way they'd have been able to get in otherwise is to try and jump over the walls, which is tricky. It takes a lot of time and effort. But the fact that they traded our gate over meant that that enemy force could get inside, which made it a bit untenable at that point to siege.
I heard a lot of statements from a lot of people, and the main thing was that a lot claimed that if no one is there, then it's basically not a siege. How should you define a siege? Is a siege I'm taking the supply lines? Does the siege start there? Or of the definition of that one GM? I guess I don't know if that was his decision alone or if there are any guidelines, so I don't know. They decided like, okay, if no one is standing around, it's no siege.
Yeah, no, and I think that's where a lot of the confusion came to, is what is the definition of a siege within Mortal Online. And the way that I see a siege, obviously, it's ongoing. It is not something that's instant, and there needs to be, if you're going to say that the siege isn't happening, there needs to be a decent amount of time between the last attack, or obviously assets trading hands. I guess I would just point out a few things. One, we own the gate, right? Koto owned the gate, which is defined as part of the keep. That's why when you trade the keep, you trade the gate. It's part of the same asset. So we owned part of that asset when they transferred it over. The second thing is, GMs have already made the conclusion that being able to asset flip to choose the defense shouldn't happen. Because if you look in the next patch notes and in the PTR, there's a function that means that if the asset is under attack, you can't just instantly trade the Guildstone, because there's been a lot of trouble with that recently. So they've already ruled the fact that if there's something going on, you shouldn't be able to just trade an asset. So they went back on their own ruling, which they've already made, which makes it even more strange, because they've already set a precedence for it, and they've already set a ruling for it in the future, and then they ignored both of those and just decided to do something else. And again, I don't blame Bad Company. You know, they stormed a contract. That's their prerogative. That's what mercenaries do. They were offered a free keep by a GM and they took it. You know, if someone's going to come and hand you a keep on a golden platter, you're going to say yes, thank you very much. I think our main challenge and our main concerns is around the GM involvement in things. Now, this isn't a new issue. You know, this issue's been around for as long as keeps have been around. So it's not the first time that this has had issues. There was issues when MKRG keep got trade, when Warden's keep got trade. There was issues when Albu traded the one over to Odin Seed, or when it was traded to Albu in the first place and then to Odin Seed. There's so many issues, you know, and even ES keep, when we had that transferred, I'm sure some people were not too happy with that. So there's so many times that this has happened, and rather than fix it, they've let it cook. They've just let it, you know, simmer until it explodes into what it is now. And the fact also that they then made a statement saying, we're not doing this anymore, again shows that they know it was wrong to do. So they've admitted that it's wrong. They've got precedents for it being wrong. And they've also put stuff in the patch to make sure that this sort of stuff doesn't happen, but they still made that decision. So they basically just doubled down on a bad decision. And I think that's what makes it very difficult. And when you look at the DMs, and I can share them with you, I'll share them over. When you look at them, you'll see some of the statements that are made in there.
Are these statements for public visibility or not?
You can decide on that, mate.
Oh no! I don't know if I want to.
I think the issue is Starvault has got this weird thing where if you share DMs from a staff conversation, it gets, or share them publicly, you end up with a game ban. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not too fussed about that. If it happens, it happens. I think it's more important for the health of the game, the fact that we're actually looking at how our GM team are resolving things and offering constructive criticism on how they can actually improve things going forward, as no one ever learns. So I'll have a think about it, and I'll let you know afterwards. But there's a few key pieces in here. Now, Bad Company, obviously, you've probably seen the screen grabs of them saying, well, from Bowden, I'm going to take my entire guild, it's the biggest guild in the game, and quit, as well as share all these DMs everywhere. I think he was frustrated, and I can't blame him for saying that. Whether he'd actually gone through with it, I very much doubt he would. You know, that's one of the things you say when you're just not getting your own way.
Yeah, I heard that over the last decade so often that people like, oh yeah, I'm quitting when this happens, I'm quitting, and in the end, no one is quitting.
Exactly. Well, I think unfortunately a lot of people quit off the back of this, and you'll probably see population reflect that, and a lot of the guilds that weren't on the winning side of this decision, you're not seeing a massive amount of engagement by them anymore. You're not seeing a massive amount of people. You know, there's struggles going on throughout the other side of this from a player perspective. People just aren't interested anymore. You know, they really, why play the game when you can? It's meant to be player based. It's meant to be a sandbox, but then GMs come in and make these arbitrary decisions, and no one really agrees with. And it just takes all of that power from your own hands. You know, all that work you did. Oh well, you know, someone's going to come in and just take it all away from you. But one of the other key things in here is I don't think the GMs or Robmo really listened to what was going on, and they made a very bad series of decisions. So firstly, we didn't ask for this meeting to happen between the guilds and between Discord and Henrik and Robmo. We didn't ask for it. And when I say we, I mean Koto or Coalition or Imperial. We're not involved in that at all. First thing I knew was I was coming out of the cinema and I've got a ping on my phone to say, hey, can you join this? From not even one of them, but from Azog. There's something going on, you might want to be involved. So I get me invited in, I jump in, and that's 30 to 40 minutes after the meeting had already started. So obviously there's pages of their side of what happened, but there was no one from Coalition in there. There was no one from Imperial in there. And there was no one from Enclave in there. So they were taking one side of the story on what happened. So I did my best to obviously explain from our side what happened. Eventually we managed to get Fallon in there from Imperial, but we still couldn't get anyone from Enclave because it was a closed invite and you can only have so many people within those chats. But also there seemed to be no willingness from the GMs to actually include everybody. And I understand they might think, we don't want everybody in there because it's going to turn into a shit show, but you have to have someone from every side, else you're not getting the whole story. One of the key pieces that Rombo said in there, which caused me a little bit of concern, is the fact that although we'd all said what was going on, he didn't really read it. His decision that made off the back of it didn't make sense considering what was mentioned within the conversation, because he said very clearly that they could not read players' minds. So they were not able to determine if a siege was still ongoing. And that was really bad because we had messaged, and I know Imperial had sent a message to LGM Discord, and I told them to do this because I knew what would happen. I foresaw this coming. They sent a message to LGM Discord the moment we left that gate and said, hey, look, we're going to go do this. We've got to do this, this, and this before we can actually continue the siege. A siege is still ongoing. Contact us if you think differently, but we are currently still doing stuff. So do not trade this keep. So there's no mind reading there. They knew we were still actively doing stuff. They knew Imperial was still actively doing stuff. But Robmo's statement was completely against that. Like, he didn't even take that into a fact. He just made a very strange, arbitrary statement. And then obviously they doubled down on it and just said, right, we're not doing anything. We will trade the gate back, but at that point it's too late. You've changed, you irrevocably changed the siege. You've allowed the defenders in. It's the next day now, and also they said they weren't going to trade the keep back. And when you see the DMs, you'll see in there, I'm very clear when I go in. I'm like, okay, boys, what's going on here? I'm not sure what this is around. I need to understand what actually happened first before I can make any decision. And the GM team and Robmo never once said the keep was traded by the GMs or this is what happened. Like, they just seem to be very shady about their own dealings within everything. And if they were just open and honest about things, we'd get to the end a lot quicker. But I also I say now very soon that, you know what, guys, this is a lose-lose situation, because no matter what happens out the back of this, one side's going to feel hard done by. You're probably going to lose people. You're going to lose population because the GM has interfered when they didn't need to interfere, and they shouldn't have interfered.
I mean, the whole problem starts, why are keeps tradable in the first place? And if they are not tradable, then someone should implement the mechanic that they are tradable. And if they are from the mechanic not tradable, then they are not tradable.
I mean, I had a conversation with him, and I had a conversation with Henry some time back around the keep trade. Because when we were doing the ES keep and taking out from Integrity, I was like, "What's going on here, boys? Can we trade this?" I thought we could. I thought it came in, with the ability to trade in TC. And Henrik believed that it was already in the game. It should have came in, and the problem was that it didn't come in. It was, it got missed out of a patch. The other interesting thing was LGM Discord was very clear on the fact that no keep trade had happened before that. And it was like, well, they have. MKRG keep was traded. Warden's keep was traded. And this is again where it gets a bit confusing and a bit shady, is they're never open about what GM activity actually goes on, and they always refuse the fact that they've actually been involved in things. And we saw this again when we had issues around Bertel and Mythic Stronghold, where Mythic Stronghold, we took it down. It was in rubble state. Mythic put in a GM ticket. The GM took it out of rubble state so that they could place another ahead of a timer. And we were like, okay, well, what the hell's gone on here? Because we were waiting for the timer. And we contact the GM team, and the GM team are like, well, we weren't involved. Obviously, we make a big ruckus because then it looks like Mythic have somehow exploited a stronghold to make it disappear before Rubble Timer. Turns out a GM was involved, and the GM that was involved told me he wasn't. So you get to these points again where there's a lot of confusion.
Henrik talked months ago to get better monitoring tools for the GMs and also harder restrictions for the GMs and stuff like that. I guess that this was now the final straw where they need to consider their internal workings again.
And I agree, and I think that's what people just wanted out of it. Really, was just you need to look at your professionalism of your GM team. And I'm not saying that they're inherently bad GMs. There just seems to be a problem with the decision making around key things, and they're too quick sometimes to actually jump to a conclusion. And if the conclusion is wrong, they always double down. They always double down on that. And it just makes everything worse. And we saw that from MO1, and it's still the same. Rather being open and honest, saying, look, guys, we're not too sure what to do here, or look, we fucked up. They just double down on it. It's a mess, mate. And I just show you the logs. I'm sure I'll end up banned because of it, but I think that's part of the problem. They're hiding behind doors. They're hiding behind.
I don't really know if I should share that in a video or not, but at least I don't know.
I would not share it on your video because obviously when you're using your own account, I don't want you to risk your own account. But I think this is part of the issue is they put these rules in, and the only reason these rules are in is to stop people from being able to show a GM decision or a conversation with GM. And I think that's very poor. I think it is extremely poor because if GMs are so worried about people not favouring their actions, then they're probably doing something wrong in the first place. It's just customer service. You should be able to say this is what happened. This is how a GM dealt with it. And if the GMs are so afraid that they did, that they're doing something wrong, then they probably are. They need to look at how they're actually responding to people, in a professional manner.
The GM review tool, more or less, where you can, if some GM, I don't know, ported you underwater or whatever, that you can place a review, that you can submit a review of that GM and saying he placed me underwater, he refuses to give me my stuff back or stuff like that.
And I think that would be good, but I think you'll just end up with a whole lot of them, to be honest with you. I mean, the amount of times I've been teleported all over the place. It's mad. And I think one of the other things is this should have all been resolved by a hotfix.
Just a hotfix to
a hotfix. Yeah. So I think that's the problem is they leave these issues in time and time again. They did the same with the badging and the badge issue. They did the same with like the Riser head gold. They did the same with the Haven exploit. They just leave these things in.
The potion
exploit, the food exploit, the Flux exploit. The list goes on. I could probably write up 50 to 60 times where they've just let something go on.
At least they fixed that, but in your opinion, not fast enough, or what?
Well, the problem is when they leave these things in, and they irrevocably affect the economy. They affect the game in such a way that it changes how people play, and it changes the future of the game. And it's extremely poor that they leave things for so long when they've been raised over and over again. This one, for example, it's been in for a year more, and it's come up as an issue several times, and they still haven't done it. And I think that's what it comes down to, is they just need to be quicker on things. I mean, we've been playing Pat's Day a little bit, and the guys were on there, and they found an exploit. They found an exploit where you could actually demolish other people's houses, so it's got a bit of an impact in it. Within an hour of them reporting that exploit, they took the server down for 10 minutes and hotfixed it.
Holy shit.
You know what I mean? Like, it's incredible. And I was talking to someone else, J45 said that he's been playing Fractured, and they found an issue. And they took the server straight down and fixed it. Like, you've got to respond quickly to these things that can have irreversible and irrevocable impact on your game and community. And I just don't think they really invest in that, and I don't. They cause themselves trouble because of it.
The most people just want the features that are in game to be solid and not broken. I mean, they like the features more that are in and solid, instead of concentrating on new shit that no one right now cares about.
Exactly. I think one of the main issues is GMs have become part of the game. You have to involve GMs so much in this game. I've never seen it before, and playing other games you don't see it at all. GMs are sort of that bridge where they've got faults within the game, and you have to bring in a GM, so a GM can make a decision on how that fault is repaired.
I mean, it will be very interesting with the subscription, because if people pay for that and they're getting ported under the map or under the water or dying from whatever stuff, then they're getting really mad.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the hardcore PvP aspect of the game as well. And the world is the fact that you're always risking everything you've got on you. It's not like World of Warcraft where if you die, you've still got your shit. You're potentially going out with a lot of stuff on you, right? And when you lose that to a player, you can say, oh, that's part of the game.
Yeah.
When you lose it to a bod or an issue, you reach out. When you lose it to a GM, that's where people go mental, because the people that are actually meant to be there helping you screwed you over. But it is what it is. It was always going to be a no-win situation. I think it was very poorly handled by the team at Starvolt. I'm disappointed with the team at Starvolt. They're given a lot of power and a lot of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you've got the right people with the right training in those places. But I wouldn't have minded, right, if they did it and they just said that shouldn't have happened. We are sorry, and just openly were open about it, and said, look, we fucked up. We shouldn't have done it. This is what happened. And even then, if the keep still stayed with bad company, at least the GMs have said, look, yeah, we messed up here. We'll try and do better in the future. But they just refused to do that. And then them doubling down on it just makes everything.
So again, thanks Kuthara for your point of view, and I will not interview more people regarding this topic, except if Henrik really wants to, or someone of the Starbolt team. I don't know what of the claims are actually true or not of the whole video trilogy I released about that topic. I don't know if anything in there is true or not. I don't know. Anyway, there's a voting poll, so please check the link in the description. And yeah, so basically, please leave a like and subscribe, yeah, and I don't know, share the video and your opinion, and also please leave your opinion in the comments. And we have a new supporter, the RealMadWurst. Yeah, I mean, thank you. So special thanks to all the supporters, of course, Carmel, Professor O, Lukario, Rhonus, Paarthurnax, Cologne, Bulldog, Giovanni, Vargas, the RealMadWurst, Mip, becasue, and all the others, of course. And never forget to make your shit Blizzard hard. Party hard. See you all next time. Goodbye.